After this, we'll start talking about some of the great opportunities that are available to you to help you go tobacco-free in your region. Kristen Cherpakian, Senior Manager at the American Legacy Foundation, will be discussing the Community College Initiative Grant Opportunity. From the technical assistance side, we'll have two of our other fellows, Molly Reese in Region 10 and Joshua Prasad in Region 3, discuss opportunities for the Tobacco-Free College Campus Initiative, including our two challenges and the one data stand. So we've got a lot to cover. Let's begin with Dr. Delphine Paxman, who again is the Regional Health Administrator in the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Health. He is based out of Philadelphia and oversees 5 states and the District of Columbia. He administers regional public health programs in affordable care, outreach, minority health, population affairs, women's health, medical resource corps, the HIV/AIDS Regional Resource Network, and several initiatives, including the Tobacco-Free College Campus Initiative. Dr. Paxman, over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Khadijah. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dalton Paxman, Regional Health Administrator for the Mid-Atlantic Regional Office, and I am pleased to provide welcoming comments on behalf of the 10 Regional Health Administrators and our regional offices. I do want to provide introduction to you to the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Health. The RAJ's report to the Assistant Secretary for Health, who currently is Dr. Wanda Jones. The Assistant Secretary for Health serves to provide leadership and coordination across the HHS operating divisions and staff divisions on key prevention priorities for the department, such as the National Tobacco Strategy. Within the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Health is the Office of the Surgeon General. The Office of the Surgeon General, as you know, releases the Surgeon General report, as well as serves as the co-chair for the National Prevention Council. There are, in the Office of the Secretary for Health, we have the 10 regional health administrators who oversee the 10 regional offices, as you can see on this slide. We are in Region 3. Our office is located in Philadelphia. But it's important to know that wherever you are in this country, there is a regional office with regional health administrator, and many of those offices have fellows working on the Tobacco-Free College Campus Initiative, and we will encourage you to work with your regional offices. The regions all work together on this Tobacco-Free College Campus Initiative, and we coordinate on so many projects such as this webinar. The Affordable Care Act created the National Prevention Strategy, which is a product of the National Prevention Council, which is co-chaired by the Surgeon General. The National Prevention Strategy is making prevention a priority for not only the federal agencies, but for the nation. And it has a number of priorities that you can see on here, one of which is tobacco-free living, which of course is what we're talking about. One of the ways you can become tobacco-free will be to make sure that you have proper health insurance. And for many people, your opportunity to enroll in health insurance will be through the health insurance marketplace. And we have a slide up here with information on the health insurance marketplace. What you have to know about the marketplace is that the qualified health plans within the marketplace cover essential health benefits. And one of the very important health benefits are those preventive and wellness services benefits that include things like tobacco cessation counseling. The enrollment period for the health insurance marketplace begins November 15th and goes through, starts November 15th and goes through February 15th of 2015. For additional information on the health insurance marketplace, this slide has a variety of sources of ways for you to get it through email and text alerts on healthcare.gov. There are ways to get this information in Spanish. You can go to the website, marketplace.cms.gov. There's also Twitter, Facebook, and a 1-800 number that's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I mentioned to you the Office of the Surgeon General. This year, the Acting Surgeon General of the United States, Admiral Boris Lushniak, released the 50th anniversary report of smoking and health. We've been trying to address tobacco-related issues for the past 50 years. We've made a lot of progress, as the report shows, but there's a long way to go. As Admiral Lushniak cited in the report, enough is enough. I think that through the efforts on this webinar, through the Tobacco-Free College Campus Initiative, we will try to end, and hopefully we will end, the terrible tobacco epidemic that has been in this country for far too long. And with that, I turn it over to my colleagues for the rest of the webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Paxman, for providing that background. Next, we have Cliff Douglas, the Director of the TobaccoFree College Campus Initiative, a lecturer at the University of Michigan School of Public Health, and a consulting tobacco control policy advisor to the Office of the Secretary for Health and the Office of the Surgeon General. Mr. Douglas will discuss the National Tobacco-Free College Campus Initiative and the progress the National Tobacco-Free Movement has made in just a short amount of time.
Sure. Excuse us for one technical issue while we just get his phone unmuted. Cliff, are you on the line? My apologies. This is Josh Stubbs, the ORSL in Region 3. I will get started with item 5 until he joins us. Cliff, when you join the line, please, if you are on the line, please unmute it by pressing star 6. The National Tobacco-Free College Campus Initiative.
Oh, Josh, can you hear me now?
Oh, there we go.
Perfect. I guess I'm going to do a Verizon commercial after all. Forgive me. I have been busy talking, and everyone has been busy not hearing me. Let me just start again. I'm sorry for the hiccup there. And begin by, first of all, I'm very pleased to be here, whether you can hear me or not. And I want to thank Vidisha Sinha for facilitating this meeting. Thanks very much to W. Dalton, to Dr. Paxman, who has served as just a key leader in this national effort from the key region for HHS from Region 3, covering several major states. And John Prasad, Molly Reese, Regan Bellamy, and Kristen Chertakian as well from the Legacy Foundation. And I do want to give special recognition to the American Legacy Foundation, which from the very beginning of the launch of this national initiative in September of 2012 has served as a key sponsor and supporter of all of our efforts. So to the new people joining us today, welcome, and to those who have already been involved a while and are veterans, welcome back. As I'm going to be discussing, and we will be discussing, we've made fabulous progress, and like the tobacco epidemic itself, also have a long way to go. So Josh, I'll be asking Josh to move the slides along, if you could go to the next one. So we have talked about the progress that we've made, and in fact, in the realm of public health, the battle, the campaign against the tobacco epidemic in the United States, dating historically back to the first Surgeon General's report in 1964, although it, of course, goes back even before then, has been, it's not unique, very unusual to the extent that we have made major strides. And in this last half-century since the first Surgeon General's report, our efforts, our collective efforts, in the private sector, in our homes and our communities, from the government, has succeeded in lowering smoking rates, such that we have saved about 8 million lives based on the number of kids who consequently did not begin to smoke and the millions of adults who have succeeded in quitting after starting. And we know that in that time period, average life expectancy has increased remarkably by about 10 years in just this short 5-decade span. And as remarkably, if not more so, almost a third of that extended lifespan is due specifically to lower smoking rates. And that gives you a very graphic sense of how critical this public health mission is. This highlights why it's so important to focus on continuing to reduce tobacco use as part of our overall health promotion efforts. Next slide. At the same time, we do continue to face a major public health challenge. It's the paradox of the tobacco epidemic. Since that first Surgeon General's report, cigarette smoking has killed more than 20 million Americans. 2.5 million of them non-smokers based on exposure to toxic secondhand smoke, and also more than 100,000 babies due to such events as sudden infant death syndrome, low birth weight, premature birth, because of the mothers smoking during pregnancy. And right now we still have about 45 million people in the U.S., most of them adults, but also 2 million middle and high school students who smoke cigarettes. And the result of all of this is that, in spite of all of our progress, tobacco is still causing the deaths of nearly 500,000 people a year in our country. It's also causing significant economic disruption in the form of billions of dollars in medical bills and also lost productivity in the workplace in the United States. Next slide. So one of the simplest graphic depictions of what we're dealing with this epidemic, and of course this all serves to provide context for the focus of this call, which is specifically our efforts on college campuses. We know that smoking still kills today more Americans than all of these other major preventable causes of death combined: AIDS, car crashes, illegal drugs, murders and suicides, alcohol, and fires, not incidentally, a large percentage of which are caused by cigarette butts being dropped in people's beds and other furniture and the like, causing fatalities, often in the home situation. Next slide. So, to come back home to the particular subject here, focusing on college campuses, we know that when it comes to our students, that based on current rates, the projection is that nationwide more than 1 million of our current college students in the U.S. are going to die from tobacco use, a large percentage of those specifically from cigarette smoking. And it's for this reason, and because we know that this is a key transition period during the college years, that our recent Surgeon General, Regina Benjamin, and now currently our acting Surgeon General, Lushniak, have each stated that if young people don't start using tobacco by age 26, they almost certainly will never start. And so it imposes an obligation, a burden of sorts, but certainly a terrific opportunity for us in our own campus settings to address this issue directly. Next slide. And so in recognition of this, under the leadership of then U.S. Assistant Secretary for Health Howard Koh, we launched this initiative from the School of Public Health at the University of Michigan in 2012, along with various academic and public health leaders from across the country, with the vision of expanding on a widespread basis tobacco-free policies to institutions of higher learning across the nation, with 3 overarching goals. First of all, fostering a collaborative and cooperative effort among academic institutions and also many partners in the public health community. Second, expanding awareness in academia and among the public, and that includes the media, of the need for benefits of such policies. And then third, facilitating information flow and access to technical assistance. So in the next few minutes, I'll be elaborating on these efforts and the kinds of resources that we have assembled to benefit everyone who is interested in this issue. So, next slide, please. So first of all, when we launched the initiative back in September of 2012, we at the same time launched a brand new website, which we have come to call the Home for Tobacco-Free Campus Policy. The interest that we had then was to develop a sort of one-stop shop place where everyone interested in this, students and faculty and staff and others, could come for the vast majority of the kinds of information and tools that we would all need to work on this issue where we live and where we go to school and where we work. Now, the idea here was not to supplant the many excellent resources that already existed and continue to be developed around the country by our partners and others, but rather to link them all so that when you go to this site, you will find some original material, but you'll also find a direct connection to many other resources that have been developed based on the experience and the expertise of folks on many campuses at all levels around the country. Next slide. And so as I've been highlighting already, this effort is built on partnership. It's formed out of a formal memorandum of understanding between the Department of Health and Human Services, which of course is our overarching federal health agency within which such other agencies as the Centers for Disease Control, the Food and Drug Administration, the National Institutes of Health are all situated. And joining with us have been the American College Health Association, the Association of Schools and Programs of Public Health, as I noted earlier, the American Legacy Foundation, Americans for Non-Smokers' Rights, Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, and of course, some of our leading national voluntary health groups like the Cancer Society and the Lung Association. Next slide. And so, through these efforts, through the website, for example, through such events as this webinar, one of our foremost priorities is to facilitate communication that will be helpful to people out there to move this issue forward. And one of the things that, in large part with the direction and support of Josh Prasad that we've done over these recent months is to really establish the initiative in the social media. So we have a very active Facebook page. If you're not already there, please do check it out and like it, as they say. And also Twitter, please follow. We provide regularly information that is current and which we think will be of greatest use to folks who are working on this issue. Next slide. And we attempt to provide leadership. Many people are involved in this. We have leaders, Dr. Paxton being a wonderful example today, other leaders from regions around the country, the Surgeon General, the Assistant Secretary for Health, and numerous others who attend in person various summits and conferences, individual meetings at universities, which are at times a key transition point themselves in considering if, when, and how best to move forward in expanding their policies to fully cover smoking and tobacco use. And we do our very best on a daily basis to provide technical assistance. And you'll be hearing some more about that, I believe, from Josh and Molly as well. Next slide. So we've been alluding to the success we've had, and I have to say that by way of context, I've personally been working on the Tobacco Control and Prevention campaign for about 25 years. I cut my teeth, as it were, when I coordinated the National Airline Smoking Ban campaign back in the late 80s, which was remarkable, but I have to say that based on all of that time that's gone by and my experience in these efforts, I've personally never experienced an issue that has progressed as wonderfully quickly as we've seen with the campaign involving tobacco-free college campuses. And we know that based on recent numbers, according to the American Non-Smokers' Rights Foundation, that now we're nearing 1,500 campuses that have been identified. as having 100% smoke-free policies indoors and outdoors with no exceptions, including the residential housing facilities for students where they exist. And extraordinarily, about two-thirds of those have 100% tobacco-free policies, which means they cover all tobacco products, smokeless tobacco, snus and chew and snuff and the like. And of course, there's also this burgeoning area having to do with so-called or electronic cigarettes and other electronic nicotine delivery systems, because the overall category is broader than just e-cigarettes alone. And we see that nearly 300 campuses already in the sort of rapid transition we've undergone in the last couple of years have adopted policies that also disallow the use of e-cigarettes anywhere on campus. And I'll be talking a bit more about that. So as you can see in the slide, we've just given examples of some of the larger prominent campuses around the U.S. that have adopted these policies, but there are many more that are smaller as well. But we're pleased to report that while there is a long way to go, and that's what this call is all about today, we've now seen about a 90% increase in the number of these policies that have been adopted nationwide in just the last 2 years. Next slide. This is a very simple graphic. I love it because it tells just a very positive tale about how far we've come. And at some point, while we don't have those numbers right now, I'd love to assemble some data on the number of people that this little graphic means are now covered, protected against secondhand smoke and tobacco use, who weren't before we had this tremendous acceleration in the adoption of these policies. Next slide. So we're focused on community colleges, and others will be talking about that in greater detail today. But I just wanted to highlight that the good news is that a bit more than a fifth of all of the colleges in the United States with total smoke-free campus policies are community colleges. And I think there's a long way to go, but it shows that that has been an area where we have been making some substantial progress. So for those community colleges represented on this call today who haven't done it yet, the nice thing about this is this is not really cutting edge, but rather you've had a lot of forebears, those campuses that have already gone ahead and can serve as examples and role models. Next slide. And of course, there are particular reasons why we are so interested in moving this along at community colleges. Community colleges, as I think probably many people here today know, offer some special opportunities. They provide education for low-income populations, many communities of color, many first-generation and post-secondary education students. And the more than 1,000 community colleges in the U.S. serve almost half of the undergraduate students in our country. And that means about 13 million enrolled students. It's a tremendous population offering us some challenges but tremendous opportunity. And about 20% of two-year college students smoke compared to about 14% of four-year college students. And so we are dealing with a significant area of disparity that we must address more effectively. And that's part of why we get so excited about our discussion today. Next slide. So it is important to be aware when institutions are adopting these policies and are seeking to be listed on the national listing of smoke and tobacco-free campuses, that there are certain exemptions that when campuses include them end up obstructing their way to that list. They won't make the list if they have more than what you can see here. The very narrow exceptions that are allowed include using tobacco inside of one's own vehicle, religious ceremonies such as in certain Native American ceremonies, and for research purposes in a controlled laboratory setting. So-called bus huts, these separate smoking areas are not permitted, and also not permitted is granting a sort of amorphous discretion to the president or chancellor of an institution to make exceptions when they choose to. Because if you do that, it opens up the possibility that the policy will be weakened and you don't know what's going to happen next. And so that exception is not allowed, even though some campuses continue to write them, unfortunately, into their policy. Next slide. So we've alluded to the fact that many campuses go fully tobacco-free. They go beyond applying their policies to smoking alone. Next slide. Here are the reasons why we look at this. And the Surgeon General has reported in great length and depth multiple times over the years about the health impact of smokeless tobacco. They are serious and they are severe and they are life-threatening. As you will see on the warning labels, smokeless tobacco products, all of them, contain nicotine. They are addictive. They are not a safe alternative to cigarette smoking. Most smokeless tobacco products in the United States cause oral and esophageal and pancreatic cancer. They cause a wide range of mouth problems, tooth loss, gum disease, etc. And I think this is worth highlighting, as you'll see in the last bullet. Smokeless tobacco, the use of smokeless tobacco also increases the risk of fatal heart attacks and stroke. And the underscored fatal there refers to the fact that if you have a cardiac event, you are less likely to survive it if you use smokeless tobacco. Next slide. The industry, for its part, plays a major part in this epidemic. The tobacco industry is often referred to as the vector of the tobacco epidemic, much as a mosquito is when it comes to the transmission of malaria. And the industry, in its advertising and in its marketing strategy, promotes the use of smokeless tobacco products not to replace cigarettes, but as a way for smokers to maintain addiction, to bridge that time when they can't smoke. In other words, impeding cessation efforts, reducing the health benefits of a smoke-free policy, and overall perpetuating the tobacco epidemic. And this is why we look at this, because one might wonder, well, smokeless tobacco doesn't affect someone secondhand like secondhand smoke does, so why are we thinking about this? It's because it has a direct effect on the potential success of these policies in protecting our communities against tobacco addiction and premature death. Next slide. The other issue that comes up in the midst of all of this, and I think many people are becoming increasingly aware of this, is e-cigarettes. So let me just talk a little bit about why we now have 292 campuses that no longer permit e-cigarette use on their campus, and many more coming. Next slide. E-cigarettes, and I've really boiled it down here so that folks can see this. Simply, there is extensive now documentation that has been developed from the World Health Organization, the Food and Drug Administration, the American Heart Association, and others. And we can provide it, by the way, and this is true of much of what we're talking about today. I do encourage folks who haven't been there yet to visit the TFCCI website because it provides a lot of this information. E-cigarettes are drug delivery devices. Their purpose is to enable the user to inhale nicotine, and while doing so, they also inhale other substances, sometimes including illicit drugs. There is a bit of a mini epidemic going on right now among high school students who are using e-cigarettes to inhale something called Cloud-9, which is a drug that has caused overdoses in a lot of emergency room visits. E-cigarette aerosol, the side stream that you as a bystander will inhale alongside of the user, him or herself, contains carcinogens like formaldehyde and acetaldehyde, lead, nickel, and chromium, and other substances. And some of these substances are actually found in higher concentrations in e-cigarette aerosol than cigarette smoke. Sometimes this is referred to as vapor, as I think folks know. But vapor has kind of an innocuous sound to it, as if we're talking about water vapor. There is no water, and there is no water vapor that is emitted by e-cigarettes. We're talking about an aerosol containing a great number of substances. And the use of e-cigarettes can therefore subject innocent bystanders to exposure, and for campus purposes, can create confusion around enforcement and also renormalize, make it seem more socially acceptable to smoke, which is something that we've been doing so well on, and e-cigarettes are threatening that progress. And also going back to what we talked about with smokeless tobacco, permits or enables dual usage along with cigarettes and other tobacco products, which is, as we've discussed, can interfere with cessation and impede the whole mission. Next slide. So I'm not going to spend time on this right now, but instead let me just flag that these data are available on the TFCCI website, but this slide and the next slide, and we can even move along to that, simply provide cause and effect data showing that the effective adoption and then implementation of these policies works directly to reduce smoking rates, to denormalize cigarette smoking and other tobacco use. These policies are generally quite popular when adopted and become increasingly popular, the data show, after they've been implemented, and they substantially reduce litter on campus as well. Next slide. And as I was just noting, cigarette smoking leads to the number one source of litter on the planet. Tobacco cigarette butts are the single most commonly collected waste item in campus park and beach cleanups. And we do know, again based on peer review research, that when these policies are adopted, you see a substantial reduction in the amount of this toxic and carcinogenic litter that is dropped around our buildings and on the streets around our campus. Next slide. They also help the bottom line. These policies, like similar laws at the state and local and federal level, are known to reduce employee health care costs, increase employee productivity. I think this is all common sense, but it's worth underscoring here. All of our campuses and our administrations are concerned about the bottom line. It makes a big difference in decision making for good reason. And being at a large university myself, at the University of Michigan, I see this close up every day. Numerous studies demonstrate that employees who smoke tobacco have higher levels of absenteeism and presenteeism, as well as healthcare costs in comparison to employees who do not smoke. And so when these policies are adopted and cigarette smoking drops on campus, it is down the road, and not long down the road, going to have a beneficial effect on the bottom line. Clearly we see reduced costs for grounds and building maintenance, and also one would presume a reduced fire risk to buildings and grounds. Next slide. So looking ahead, one of our leaders in this effort, Acting Surgeon General Wozniak, who has spoken multiple times about this, who provided our first major expert blog on the website in recent months, is an inspiration. And as he said here, we are optimistic that by working together to encourage implementation of comprehensive tobacco-free policies at universities and colleges across the United States, we will accelerate, and we have, the progress that has already been achieved. And as he has said about the epidemic, and the same is true about tobacco use among our students during this key transition period, I join in the chorus with him and say enough is enough. Next slide, and I think we're there, so I'm looking forward to transitioning now to our other speakers, and I thank everyone for your time.
Thank you so much for those compelling remarks. Now that we've heard the background on why being tobacco-free is so important on campuses, we're pleased to have our next speaker from an institution that has successfully established a tobacco-free policy. Regan Bellamy is the Executive Director of Student Resources at WENATCHEE. I'm probably saying that wrong. WENATCHEE Valley College in Washington State. They went tobacco-free on July 17, 2013. And they were recognized by our very own Fresh Air Campus Challenge. The policy includes cigarettes, e-cigs, and smokeless tobacco. Regan, over to you.
Thank you, Eva.
So to start with, just so you know, WENATCHEE College is in a small rural area in the center of Washington State. We have two campuses. We have our main campus, which is in WENATCHEE, and then we have a north campus, which is in OMAC. And our OMAC campus is part of the reservation of the Caldwell Confederated Tribes. So just kind of, you can get kind of an idea of what we look like. The colleges are both located right in the middle of town, so there's many neighbors on all sides of our property. So how we started was in late 2012, we put out a student and staff survey about our college becoming tobacco-free. The survey came back not overwhelmingly for or against going tobacco-free, so we decided as college administration that we wanted to move forward going tobacco-free very slowly. We had designated smoking areas, but they weren't enforced very well. So we started in January of 2013 of really enforcing those areas. So we had about 6 months. In June of 2013, we went tobacco-free, which was our first summer quarter. We figured that we had less on campus. It gave us time to get signs out, banners, little sticky on doors. We got business cards made. Our business cards say "Breathe Free on campus is now tobacco-free." We had to put that up just to look at our campus. If we find on smoking, we would hand it out to say, "Hey, you know, please respect the health." We really didn't have a ton of issues with knock on wood. The two main issues were students or faculty or staff smoking on sidewalks. And the sidewalks are all along the perimeter of our campus. At first we tried to enforce that, but we actually found out that they're maintained by the city, so we really can't enforce that. So if people smoke on our sidewalks, we have to allow it. Another problem we ran into was because we have so many neighbors around our campus, we had people smoking, say, in a neighbor's yard. We had a couple of calls. We'd go out and talk with the neighbors, kind of patrol that area and just talk to students and ask them to respect our neighbor's property. Something else that we did to help with that is our students did 2 different cigarette butt pickup events for Make a Difference Day. So we had about a 3-hour time frame. Students and staff came on campus, did a butt pickup around campus, collected everything into big jars and displayed them in our student resource center for a week or so, which was kind of eye-opening how many picked up and how gross they were. Let's see. The Fresh Air Campus College was awesome. They were just such a great resource throughout this whole process. They provided me with a college mentor, which was Green River Community College, which is a college over by Seattle. We used a lot of information that they had already created. They have an awesome FAQ website. We kind of drafted our policy language against their policy. And their staff was just a great resource to us. The webinars have been awesome, the toolkits, tons of flyers, just a lot of information that we've been able to get out onto our campus. Molly Reed has been wonderful. She's been a great support for me. So I'm just excited about it. Our campus, it doesn't even seem like we ever did have tobacco on campus anymore. It's just like it's always been this way. And we're just excited about it. Thank you so much, Regan. Thanks for your work and for your excitement and enthusiasm. That's what we hope for here in our region. Next, we have Kristen Chitnakian, a senior manager at the American Legacy Foundation, who is a key partner of ours. Kristen is here to discuss their Community College Initiative, which is a grant opportunity for community colleges that have yet to implement a smoker tobacco-free policy. Kristen?
Well, thank you so much, and thank you to Josh and the HHS team for inviting me to speak on today's webinar. Chris' remarks illustrate the need for extra attention and support to community colleges with smoke-free policy efforts. The points he made really serve as the motivation behind Legacy's new initiative on community colleges. And for those of you who don't know us, Legacy is a national public health organization dedicated to reducing tobacco use. Next slide, please. WENATCHEE is currently accepting applications to support public community colleges in their efforts to advocate for, adopt, and implement a 100% smoke-free or 100% tobacco-free policy. We're expecting to fund up to 100 community colleges across the country. We're very excited about this initiative. Initial grants are up to $5,000 for 1 year. Upon invitation, grantees may choose to apply for second and third year funding at $5,000 each year. So that is saying that this is the potential for community college to receive funding for 3 years to work on policy adoption and implementation. The deadline to submit applications, very important, is November 6th. Next slide, please. In addition to funding, grantees will receive technical assistance through webinars, learning communities, and some limited one-on-one assistance. Next slide. The important question, who is eligible? The application is sent to public community colleges, which are defined as institutions that primarily grant 2-year associate degrees and that are accredited by one of the 6 regional accrediting agencies, and this includes tribal community colleges. The community college must be based in 50 states, DC, or one of the 5 territories, and the college must not already have adopted a 100% smoke-free or a 100% tobacco-free policy. One other item for eligibility is that the community college must not accept any funding from tobacco-related companies. Next slide. The first year of the grant will focus on laying the groundwork for policy adoption. Set up the community colleges for success. Our grant guidelines lay out 5 required project elements. I'm just going to go through them really quickly. The first is to form a task force with broad representation of the campus, including students, faculty, staff, and administration. The second is highly encouraged, which is to assess tobacco-related issues, including tobacco use behavior, attitudes, and support among students, faculty, and staff, which really speaks to, again, the survey that they conducted at the college, and that gave them some impetus for the policy. The third is to educate and engage students, staff, faculty, and decision makers on the need for and the benefits of 100% smoke-free or tobacco-free policy, and to secure their support. Number 4, identify a plan to address tobacco treatment for those students, faculty, staff who are interested in quitting. And last but not least, to develop a policy recommendation for a 100% smoke-free or 100% tobacco-free policy to present to key decision makers. This policy has to be college-wide. So if a community college has 5 campuses, this policy has to affect all campuses. And any strong policy will include and address implementation and compliance issues. Next slide. So some key dates. The RFP was released yesterday. Applications are due Thursday, November 6th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Awards will be announced by early February, and we expect the college project to start around March 1st. Next slide. For those community colleges that are interested in applying, if you want to find out more about the grant initiative and ask any questions, we'll be holding 2 technical assistance webinars on October 14th and 16th at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. These are not mandatory, they are optional. You can register on our website for either webinar. Next slide. And just in closing, all the grant materials, including guidelines, frequently asked questions, and a lengthy online application are located on our website. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kristen. We know you have some questions for Kristen and our other speakers. Just a quick reminder to submit your questions into the webinar chat box if you haven't done so already, or via Twitter at TFCCI. Next, we have Molly Reese and Josh Prasad, OS fellows of the ORASH at the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Health, working on the Tobacco-Free College Campus Initiative. They will discuss the two challenge opportunities we have to offer in our regions, as well as the one-day stand. Josh?
Thanks, Felicia. And thank you to all the other speakers who've spoken today. We've heard about some great opportunities already, and we'd love to just extend a few more to you. The Tobacco-Free College Campus Initiative is very proud of the two challenges we offer in our region that really just differ on geography. For campuses in our Region 10, that is Alaska, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington State, we have the Fresh Air Campus Challenge. Campuses in all other states are encouraged to sign up for our TFCCI Challenge. And right there at the bottom of the slide, you'll see that you can sign up for these challenges at tobaccofreecampus.org, that's our website, /regional-challenge, where there's plenty of specifics about both of these opportunities. I'll just go over some basic information so you understand what you'd actually be signing up for. What we do with our challenges is recognize strong policies. They're tiered frameworks designed to do these two things. Organize campuses to help them through the implementation process of going tobacco-free, and then upon implementing a strong smoker tobacco-free policy, recognizing them for their hard work. Our ultimate objective is to have all campuses go 100% smoker tobacco-free in the coming 2 to 3 years. The goal of your campuses is right in line with that. It should be to strive for strong 100% smoker tobacco-free policy as set out by our partners at the American Non-Smokers' Rights Foundation. Both challenges will help you accomplish this by using best practices that have worked for campuses at each stage of this process. Introductory campuses will receive assistance on developing the task force, on best ways to assess and engage your campus. Intermediate campuses will offer assistance on how you can encourage and plan for tobacco treatment and cessation, and educating your campus's population, ultimately leading to the development of a policy that best fits your community's needs. As I mentioned before, and just to reiterate what Cliff had mentioned earlier, you should strive for 100% smoker tobacco-free policy. You're encouraged to develop a policy that means you should develop a policy that minimizes exemptions to your campus's policy in accordance with these criteria. Obviously, we want to help you write a policy that best fits your community. So we look forward to working with you on that. Again, you can sign up for our challenges on tobaccofreecampus.org/regional-challenge, and I'll turn it over to Molly to discuss the one-day stand opportunity.
Thanks, Josh. We're excited to announce that a celebration of American Cancer Society's Great American Smokeout this year on November 20th. The Fresh Air Campus Challenge and the TFCCI Challenge is hosting a nationwide event to encourage all college campuses across the country to go tobacco-free for one day. The Building on Gas's mission is helping you different for one day. This event will then encourage colleges and universities to adopt a tobacco-free policy for one day. So we really hope that this one day event will serve as a catalyst for campuses to discuss the benefits of smoking tobacco-free policy and to sign on to the Fresh Air Campus Challenge and TFCCI Challenge, which are working to get all colleges and universities in the country to go smoker tobacco-free. In fact, the vast majority of campuses who have hosted a one-day stand on their campus this year have reported that participating in this event has helped to support long-term policy change. Next slide. To support students, staff, in hosting their own one-day stand event on campus, we've developed an online toolkit that will be available on our website, onedaystand.org. The toolkit does include a set of promotional materials. Here's a picture of a poster that will be offered. It also includes a list of fun, innovative ways to raise awareness on campus and encourage ongoing dialogue. Campus activities, social media posts, and everything that you may need to host an event on your campus. The toolkit and the materials will be available for download within the next week. And if your campus is interested in hosting a one-day stand on your campus, we encourage you to register your event through the One Day Stand website and follow the TFCCI on Facebook and Twitter to receive updates. Thank you, and we look forward to taking a one-day stand with you.
Thanks so much, Molly and Josh. We've gone over a lot today. I just want to promote some of the important information for you here. For information on Legacy's community college initiatives and their grant opportunity for community colleges, please visit legacyforhealth.org/TCI grant. As you see on the slide. For information about our one-day stand, please go to daysstand.org. The one-day stand will be on November 20th, again, coinciding with the Great American Smokeout. And of course, for more information on these opportunities, as well as our regional challenges, please visit TobaccoFreeCampus.org. But before we begin Q&A, just to note that our email addresses are listed here based on our regions. If you don't belong to one of these regions or have any other general sort of questions about TFCCI, the Tobacco-Free College Campus Initiative, please do not hesitate to email us at tobaccofreecampuses@gmail.com. Again, that's tobaccofreecampuses, @gmail.com. And now, Josh will start taking your questions. So if you haven't submitted them, again, please do so via your chat box, using the webinar software, or Twitter at TFCCI. Thank you so much.
Great, thanks, Denisha. We have a few great questions to get started with. We'll try and get to as many of them as we can with the remaining time. The first one I'll turn over to Cliff, and then if anyone has any additional points, they can feel free to add in. We have a question that says, why does the ANR policy allow smoking in vehicles as an exemption?
Well, that's a great one, because I think that may cause some confusion in some people's minds. The understanding is that when it comes to people's own individual vehicles, it's considered in a sense, their home property, mobile though it is. And when they're sitting inside of their own car, campuses have generally, I don't know if there are exceptions to this, have generally said that's where someone can smoke. However, if it is a vehicle that is owned by the college or the university, if it's a business vehicle, then smoking is not permitted, because clearly that is in the purview and the control of the institution, and they can be sure to include that in their policy. So that exception isn't allowed.
Thanks, Cliff. Another question, Kristen, this is for you, related to the legacy grant. Can campuses that have a policy that isn't 100%, but somehow lesser, but does address their tobacco concerns, allowed to apply for the legacy funding?
The answer is yes. We're assuming that most colleges prohibit smoking somewhere on campus, hopefully in the classroom. But what we want is to get more two-year community colleges to have a 100% smoke-free or tobacco-free policy. So if you have anything less than 100% smoke-free or less than 100% tobacco-free, then you can apply.
Great, and actually another follow-up to that question about eligibility is, are vocational and technical schools eligible for this legacy funding?
Yes. And we do in our grant guidelines have more specific language on eligibility that may be helpful, and folks can always call me at 202-454-5788 if they have questions. So by our definition, if you're accredited from one of those 6 regional accrediting agencies and you are primarily a 2-year associate degree granting institution, in many states those are technical schools or vocational schools, then yes, you are eligible.
Thank you so much, Kristen. This next question I'll turn to Regan first, just to talk about your personal campus experience, and then anyone else with other points can mention it. What are some of the main reservations and challenges that are commonly mentioned when taking first steps towards going smoke or tobacco free? You mentioned a little bit about this in your own initial thoughts, but do you have any follow-up points that you can mention, Regan?
Well, I think one of the things that we heard from most people was, you can't tell me that I can't smoke. And like I tried to explain, well, we're not. We're just asking you not to smoke on our campus. So it's just kind of educating people, and then we're not trying to take away what they consider right of theirs. We're just asking them to kind of move it away from our campus.
So that was kind of one of the things, one of the main things that I didn't remember.
Thank you so much. And I guess this will be our last question, just on time. What are some of the tobacco-related campaigns that we can use to promote tobacco prevention on our campuses? I'll turn it to Cliff for some of the government side stuff, and then I'm sure Legacy and other organizations might have things too. So, Cliff,
sure. Thanks, Josh. I mean, this is kind of fun in a sense because it provides a lot of very public opportunities for people to engage in so many different ways. Certainly, ongoing social media efforts, including our own, but many others as well, are worth tapping into. It's a way to keep track of things. It's a way to lend your own voice to the discussion. One thing that folks may or may not have seen yet is just today, the Office of the Surgeon General and the Centers for Disease Control have, to illustrate the human toll of smoking, launched an online memorial to honor the many millions of people who have lost their lives due to smoking-related illness. So we're talking, of course, about our mothers and fathers and spouses and children, siblings, friends, and colleagues, because, it's a little too easy to get lost in the statistical side of the tobacco epidemic because it is so overwhelming and the numbers are so just, truly gigantic. But this is a way to focus on the human toll and the fact that many of us, and I'm sure that includes a number of people who are on this call right now, have been affected very personally by this. So if you get on the social media, it can be the Surgeon General's Twitter feed, for example. The hashtag is hashtag 20 million, the numeral 20 million, and you can participate in this 20 million memorial campaign. So that's just again one example. There are many, and I think that when we get engaged personally and take it sort of beyond the policy realm, it means a lot, and it means so much more, and it really does bring home that we're talking about a really, truly a daily battle for the health and lives of ourselves and people we know.
Great. Are there any follow-up answers to that question?
This is Krista from Legacy. I would encourage folks to go to our website, legacyforhealth.org, where they can learn more about the TRUTH campaign, which is a national tobacco prevention public education campaign for youth and young adults. Our new campaign just launched in August, and there are several ways young people can get involved, especially through social media. So we encourage you to go there to learn more about it at our website, thetruth.com.
Perfect.
And this is Regan, and I just want to encourage people, if you have specific questions, please feel free to email me. I'm happy to send you resources that we use or answer any other questions that you have.
Great. Thank you so much, Regan. We'll be sure to include your contact information in the follow-up email to this webinar. Just want to thank everyone for taking the time to speak on this webinar and participate as well. Thank you for the great questions. We'll be sending out an email with an archive, a link to the archive on this webinar, and there will be more information coming soon. Thank you again for your time, and we look forward to working with you all in the future. Thank you. Oh, Dalton's still here? You're still finished on time.
We did. The second one I thought
That was a real one. It's a personal property. I do. I can go to the bathroom. Okay. Good luck tomorrow. Thanks. Yeah. Great.
Bye.
You free word. You asked if I managed dinner. Good. Sorry. I feel you're old and know that one. Okay.
I think you better run for that.
I gotta go run for the plane. Yeah.
Pretty decent time. I didn't expect it. I was like laughing. I should. I don't want to get to know that stuff.